hold these town hall style meetings at every stop that they make in every single state. And I've got to think that they get the same questions kind of over and over and over again. But was there one moment in Charleston, Scott, something that seemed to surprise the senator?
Yeah, there was a really human moment when someone stood up and talked about his Alzheimer's disease, not only about his own problem, but his caregiver who was struggling to take care of him. And I thought Clinton gave a very detailed and personal response to that, and we have a clip of that.
Number one, we have to do much more research. Now, there's some good research going on, but unfortunately, under President Bush, the budgets for the National Institutes of Health have been either stagnant or cut. So a lot of promising research is just on the shelf. People have had their laboratories closed because it was impossible to keep going because there was no money. That's what I meant about ending the war on science, because we are on the brink of breakthroughs about how to cure and prevent and treat a lot of diseases, and Alzheimer's is one of them. So we've got to put more money into it, and we've got to have a more coordinated approach to research. Secondly, it's really important that we work with families to understand what the burdens of caring for someone with Alzheimer's will be.
Anna, same question. Any surprises? Anything that the national media hasn't picked up on in terms of Senator Obama's response to something?
Well, what struck me, this event was held in the Raleigh County Armory, the same place where President Bush held a rally in 2004 and where he won overwhelmingly over Kerry in Raleigh County. So this is not a place where you think Obama would have a lot of success, just looking at the numbers. And the crowd was not the typical Democratic rally. It was not, you didn't see a lot of seniors or people in labor union t-shirts. It was a lot of African-American families, a lot of young people, college students it looked like. But one moment that I thought was particularly telling was a woman stood up and indicated that she didn't really know much about him when she came. She was drugged by friends, and she'd heard people say things about him and his name, and she'd had some questions about him. So this was how Senator Obama responded to that. He made clear that he is a Christian, and he really wanted to emphasize that before this crowd.
Now let's see that clip.
You know, there's so many rumors flying around. Let's be clear about this. I'm a Christian. I pray to Jesus Christ our Savior. Now, I don't, and I've been doing it for many, many years.
Scott, Anna just indicated that the crowd in Beckley for Barack Obama was not a typical Democratic crowd. What about the crowd at the Clinton event?
It was a typical Democratic crowd. A lot of union officials, a lot of seniors. Half the crowd actually were high school students, but they were only there because it was at Capitol High School and they were being encouraged to go. And a lot of Democratic Party leaders were there also. Right. So she kind of has the establishment behind her.
All right. I noticed that Governor Manchin was both at the Clinton event and the Obama event in Charleston. What kind of perception did you have going into covering these candidates that have received so much national exposure? Did you have an idea of what they'd be like? And then was your idea any different after you covered them, Anna?
Senator Obama was definitely received like a rock star. It was what you hear. I mean, people were cheering. I mean, even before he was even close to showing up on stage, people were dancing in the aisles, really, really excited. But what struck me about his interaction with the crowd once he actually started taking questions was people were so excited to talk to him, they just would go on and on and on. Their questions weren't, many of the questions weren't very substantive, and you really saw the sort of constitutional law professor come out. He'd say, okay, what's your question? What's your question?
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't really seen that dynamic before in his previous appearances that I've seen in the media.
What about your perception of Hillary Clinton before and after?
Well, she was, as I expected, very businesslike. She did not really give a speech. She came into the middle of the crowd, talked for about a minute, and said, okay, ask your questions. I'd heard this before, but it just really struck me how intelligent she is, how prepared she is, has a program and an answer for any question that you could possibly throw at her. So that was interesting. But again, when she talked about things like health care, she talked about a pregnant woman in Ohio who she knew had died because she didn't have health care. You saw that she also has a more, softer side, a more human side, and that seemed real.
What will be interesting, the primary is May 13th, and what will be interesting is how many times Clinton and Obama return to West Virginia, if they do at all. If they want West Virginia to be in the Democratic column I think you'd agree, they've got to come back and hold more than just a couple of town hall meetings and a couple of rallies.
It'll be interesting to see if West Virginia truly is a red state. We've gone for Bush 2 times, or whether, if a Republican wins again, I think you have to start thinking of us as a permanently red state.